So I'm just feeling the wind. It's like there's a movement. The wind blows, and then it rests. And then it blows, and then it rests. It's like it gives this movement, and then it rests and receives. It receives something that energizes it, and then it moves. So it's a flow, it's a circle. And it's the circle of giving and receiving, giving and receiving. If the wind could not receive, then in a sense, in its giving, it would exhaust itself. Because without receiving, you can't give endlessly. Living at the center of the circle of who you are with these various aspects all balanced out. In that balance, there is the giving and the receiving. However you describe those movements. The circle, the whole circle, stays in balance and harmony by being compassion, spaciousness to both of those, and particularly to the things that might be within us that would undermine our ability to give and to receive. Sometimes it's a lot easier to give compassion for others rather than to yourself. But that's a compassion that is not balanced. It will empty itself. And there's something beneath it that's trying to be fulfilled or fed. But in a way that's sort of hidden. Many people can give. They can give and give and give and give. And everybody really is more than willing to take and take and take, and they give and take. But they can't receive. Both the warrior and the victim can give. Just like this, okay? That's giving. Sort of the gesture of the warrior is giving. The movement of giving and receiving can actually be the same thing. There's a reaching out to receive it in, and there's giving. So it's just in that motion, there's a natural flow. And you could create it more like this. But just in this motion, I both give and I receive. But the imbalanced victim and warrior who can only give, the other part of them is doing this. There are a lot of reasons. Sometimes the victim type cannot believe that they're worthy of it. Or they've been made to feel guilty in thinking of themselves, so they can't receive. But it's also to receive something from another. In both the warrior and the victim's mind can mean that you owe them something. So this is control. This is not control. You can just feel the energy. It's like you're receiving and you're giving. Go on, take it. No, thank you. I don't need it. So it's in a way, it's as if the heart is incapable of that natural cycle that is like the wind. So these people, oftentimes they can be people whose actual job is to help others. People who are therapists, and they give and they give and they encourage and they teach but they can't receive. And without that receiving, it reminds me of a poem. I don't know if I can remember it. It's a poem about taking care of the next person, so to speak, but something like I was traveling west of Buckskin on my way to a cattle run across a little cactus desert under a hard, bargaining sun, thirsty down to my toenails. Quite remember it, but what happens is he finds a pump, and in order to get the pump going, you have to have some water to prime it. You have to give it something so that it can flow. And so he finds a jar with a note. And the chorus of it is, you got to prime the pump, work a hand like there's a fire. Under a rock you'll find some water, left there in a vinegar jar. Now there's just enough to prime it, so don't you go drinking first. Just pour it in and pump like mad, and buddy, you'll quench your thirst. So the man who found the jar, he used it to prime it, he drank, and he filled the jar back up. And he left it that way for the next person. That's the cycle. He received that jar of water to prime the pump of life so that it could flow. And then in his giving, he filled it back up and left it for somebody else. So the person that can only give and not receive, it's like they pump that well of themselves. So empty. And they're unable to truly love themselves, even though they might have convinced themselves that they do. That emptiness from the inability to receive, because they're not in control. They have to be in control so badly that they can't receive. So that emptiness can slowly take them to a place of utter desperation, because they're alone. Maybe things are starting to happen where they really need to talk to somebody to get advice and help. Ask for help in some way. But that force is so strong that even in their desperation, they must remain in control. And that emptiness from not having anything left to prime the pump with leaves them so painfully empty that in order to flee from the pain, the only way out, because they can't ask for help, might be to take their own life. It's a final act of control. Both the out-of-balance victim and warrior need to be in control. And it's very difficult. To receive. In fact, it can be terrifying to receive. So, the solution for each is to touch that helpless, powerless place inside that where you can't do it. You can't just muster the will. That you can't just be the one that gives all the time. You must receive for the flow. So you must be willing to touch the powerlessness in yourself in that act of, help me. Help me. Help me. And if you can let that, if you can touch that and let it move, it opens the gate to receiving. You have touched your greatest fear. Because to receive you are not in control. To receive is a surrender. to receive your own love. 2, that deep, lonely, empty, powerless place that would reach out and ask for help. If you can give the circle of your love to that place, then you open and receive like the wind right now. I love the wind. It's like the wind is loving me, and the sun is loving me, and the earth is loving me. And just by my receiving it and my breathing out, the love comes out. The love comes in, the love comes out. I receive from you. I receive. I receive. And I thank you. So I ask you to let yourself receive. Wow, what are you? You got a director over there coaching you, huh? Oh, gosh. Now this is receiving and giving. She's giving me, and I'm giving her, and we're both giving back. Right, Beauty? Okay. Leaving somebody out underneath the tree.